proud to be the last one standing. Please welcome gold medalist Steve Bradbury.
I used to get invited to Hugh Hefner's place, the Logies, the ESPYs, the Formula One Grand Prix in Monaco. And pre-COVID, I was doing 100 plus speaking gigs a year around the globe. Now, I'm getting $0 for 10 whole minutes to speak with encore speakers, desperately hoping that one of you guys listening is going to pay me to speak to that little dot that I'm staring at right now on my laptop. Or maybe one day, even a real live event. Things are going bloody fantastically well in 2020 for Steve Bradbury. Just a joke, guys. Absolute pleasure to be here. And today in our politically correct world, we're still fortunately allowed to poke a little bit of fun at ourselves. I remember back in the 80s and 90s when you used to be able to take a piss out of other people and it was a joke too, but you know, I think that'll come back full circle again one day. Fingers crossed. Today, I'm going to share with you guys a little bit of old school strategy, passion, and persistence in order to become elite in your field, which nowadays athletes and business people alike all seem to call resilience. What the fuck? Training for the Olympics for me, I used to have a sign stuck to the ceiling in my bedroom. It read, "This is the Olympics, get up." When my alarm went off at 4:30 every morning, that's the first thing I see. And I live in Brisbane. I could see it. We don't have daylight savings. It's light at 4:30. I knew my competition on the other side of the world. I knew that those blokes were getting up. And if I didn't and I lose, I got to live with that regret. Question for you guys today. Are you getting up? Well, today you have. And in today's COVID world, a visual cue when you first wake up to put your mind straight onto positive, it actually works. Even if you happen to be a little bit hungover from the night before, that's a choice. Positive mindset leads to good ideas. Negativity crushes them. Now, currently, my visual cue today next to my bed reads, family first. My wife and I, we got 3 young kids, and some days, well, they're just hard. Without my visual cue, sometimes I'm a bit selfish. And my mind drifts back into Olympic athlete mode when it always used to be all about me all the time. Now, I've got to get my kids out of bed, brush their teeth, eat their breakfast, pack their lunch, drop them off at school. I don't get a trophy. I nail it every damn day. That visual cue after school drop-off in my office reads, nail a 1%er. Now for me, a 1%er is something that I've got written on my to-do list. Have you got a to-do list? Surprising how many people don't. And it's not optional. And a 1%er is a good idea that you might think of whilst you're out for a jog or in a dream that most people don't write down and they forget it. Always add to your to-do list. Now today, my 1%er, it's for Michael Arnott and encorespeakers.com.au. It's this speaker meet and greet. It's for EventFrog.com.au and for Ozstage.com.au. And a virtual platform that I'm talking on right now called Rendezvous that I'd never heard of until I did this. And yes, those are direct company plugs, 100% selfish, trying to separate myself from all the other speakers on this platform today so that you book me instead of them. Ahead of Marty, Mr. Resilience Wilson, Jeff Ram, and those other bastards that are on this call today. When you start to put your ideas down on paper and then into practice, you will eventually strike some good ideas. Now, I don't know if anyone knows, the staff at Google, they get paid for putting new ideas into practice, even if they suck. Now, I don't know if they got a cap on it, but they figure eventually that they're going to strike a good idea. And when you start to stack some 1%ers up on top of each other, you start to separate yourself from the competition. you become more interested in what you do, and you become more interesting. Your mates, they start to call you up to go out for beers again because you got more good stuff to say than you used to. Funny, my newest business is actually a beer. It's called Last Man Standing Australian Lager. You can check us out at lmsbrewing.com.au. I'm wearing one of the t-shirts. You can buy those online. We got hoodies and we got other stuff as well. Stubby coolers. So I think it's the best lager in Australia, by the way, but I'm a little biased. So if you're interesting, is that you, or are you currently stuck in a rut and you're blaming it on COVID? Stacking the 1%ers up on top of each other eventually leads to becoming elite in your field. You're getting good. If you're there already, you're listening to me and you go, I know it. Every day at work, you've got adrenaline coursing through your veins, and it very rarely feels like work. And if that's not you, what are you waiting for? Don't allow negativity to creep into your brain. If you let it, it'll spread like wildfire. Now, has anyone heard of the spot in the back of your head that's called the reticular activating system? Anyone? I hadn't either. I stole this next bit off another speaker. But anyway, if you feed the RAS positive energy all the time, it wants more. If you let negative creep in, it wants more of that too. So don't allow COVID to turn you into negative Nancy. We all know those people. The person who says to the guy with the nice house and the nice car, geez, you're lucky, mate. Don't be that person. Ask them how they did it. Add successful people, positive people into your network. Post-COVID, teamwork is more important than ever. Now, through my own experiences and what I've seen from most people, the majority of people in the world, they learn by their own mistakes. They get it wrong a couple of times and they figure it out. But there's a better way. Ask someone who is better than you in your field for advice. They won't share their knowledge with you without being asked first. Most people that are really good at something, they're fearful if they just share what they're good at straight out without being asked, that they get called a show-off. But if you ask first, you've instantly broken that barrier and the ball is in their court to whether they choose to help you or not. Now, for virtual or live events, for me, I'm pretty good with the tech. In my presentations, I use videos, music, audience interaction and participation. And you can book me for virtual or live through encorespeakers.com.au. I'm a motivator, a conference MC. I have a safety and risk management keynote. And I also do a little bit of stand-up comedy. I'm kind of well known for standing up. Now, if you're listening to this and you're not in Australia right now, you may not understand what I meant by that comment. If you don't, Google Stephen Bradbury gold medal race and have a look. The penny will drop. If you don't be bothered doing that, I've also got a movie coming out scheduled to release in cinemas around the world in probably February 2022. Now, as a Winter Olympian for Australia from Brisbane, that's right, Brisbane, not exactly well known for its frozen bodies of water. You should have seen the sponsors lining up for me. Yeah. The only sponsorship deal I had back in the day was at the local supermarket. The deal was whatever I could eat while I was in store, it was free. But they didn't know about it. So before winning Olympic gold, yeah, I happen to have that as a little bit of a prop here today. Before winning that, I competed for my country at the Winter Olympic Games 4 times. I had a competitive speed skate go clean through my leg. I lost 4.5 litres of blood, got 131 stitches in my leg. I broke my neck. I trained 5 hours a day, 6 days a week for about 14 years before I became an overnight success. And still, I'm often referred to as the luckiest individual Olympic gold medalist in history. And it's true. After the race, though, I was quoted, "God smiles on you some days. This is my day." Well, ladies and gents, I'm not really a religious man, but I think whoever you got is smiles on us all one day, and maybe tomorrow is your day. Do the 1%ers. Become elite at what you do. And you two will be the last one standing. Thanks very much.
Please welcome Australia's leading expert on communication and persuasion, Michelle Bowden.
My husband Ian and I have been married for 23 years, and together we have 3 beautiful daughters. Ian is a stay-at-home dad, so our 3 girls have been raised in a family where the dad stays home and the mum goes out to work. Ian and I were laughing in the kitchen the other day about this gorgeous game that he used to play with our youngest daughter Annabelle when she was about 3. Here's a sweet photo of them. So Annabelle comes home from kindy every day, and Ian says to her, "Annabelle, what do you do today?" And hands on hips, Annabelle says, "Well, Daddy, today I go to kindy. What do you do?" And from one day to the next, Ian comes up with all sorts of complete nonsense. He says, "Well, Annabelle, today I was a wizard." Her little eyes pop open in wonder. Another day, "Well, Annabelle, today I flew to the moon in a rocket ship." Again, Annabelle's little eyes pop open. One day he said to her, "Well, Annabelle, today I was a brown wiggle." I know, right? I come home from work that day and I say to him, of all the splendid colours in the rainbow, why would you choose a poo-coloured wiggle? Anyway, so it's the end of the week. And once again, Annabelle comes home from kindergarten. Ian says, "Annabelle, what do you do today?" Annabelle says with her hands on her hips, "Well, Daddy, today I go to kindy. What do you do?" And on this occasion, Ian decides he's going to mix it up and try something different. He says, "Well, Annabelle, today I went to work." Well, she crosses her arms and she furrows up her little hairbrow and she shakes her head from side to side. And after thinking about that for a while, she says to him, "No, you didn't. Boys don't go to work." And of course the point here is that we're always influencing. Ian and I didn't set out to role model for our 3 daughters that girls can choose to go to work and boys can choose to stay home. We, like everyone on this call today, are just doing our best effort at living our best life and doing what works for us in our family. The thing is, we are always influencing. So how important is it to be mindful of our impact on all the people around us? Speaking of being in the kitchen, I have a dishwasher. Do you have a dishwasher? A machine, not a person. My dishwasher doesn't dry my dishes. It's incredibly frustrating. As you know, there's 5 of us in our family, plus the girls have big boyfriends. They eat a lot. In good faith, you put the dishes in the dishwasher at the end of the meal, and then unfortunately, we've still got to get out Grandma's tea towel at the end of the cycle and dry everything off before we put it away. It's frustrating. So I call up the organisation that manufactures my dishwasher, and I say to the guy, "My dishwasher doesn't dry my dishes." And you know what the guy on the phone says to me? He goes, "Lady, it's called a dishwasher, not a dish dryer." Seriously, you reckon that's good enough? May I suggest to you that that gentleman needs just a little bit of help with managing customer objections? Because you know we move to rudeness, sarcasm, even aggression when we haven't got a better tool in our communication skills toolkit. Just imagine for a moment that gentleman was on the phone and the two of us, all of us, we ring him to ask about the dishwasher. Just imagine for a second that we're all on there together. And just imagine for a second that Mr. I can't be bothered doesn't just have the grace and mindfulness to manage our objection, he also has the authority and the inclination to upsell us to the LG 15-place quad wash dishwasher in noble steel finish with a discount. That's a better dishwasher with a discount, and we never need grandma's tea towel again. We would be delighted. You and I, we'd be singing his praises to everyone we know, to our family, to our friends, to our neighbours. Mr. I can't be bothered would be in the good books with his company. He might even snaffle a commission, and his business would be thriving. You see, I share this story with you because it doesn't matter whether you're in customer service for a dishwasher company, selling your product or service to your prospect, or even convincing your boss or colleague to support or fund your next big important idea. We are always influencing. You cannot not influence. And when we influence, there's always going to be some kind of impact. Sometimes it's positive, sometimes it's negative, it's rarely neutral. So how important is it when objections are raised that we can manage those with grace and mindfulness? Do you know how to do that? Let me show you. This 5-step model that I'm going to show you now includes the most powerfully persuasive word in the world. And it comes from my persuasion blueprint, which is something I've been teaching for over 20 years. There are many thousands of people who use this technique on a minute-by-minute basis to compel their customer, their prospect, even their life partner forwards and diffuse conflict. The next time someone says to you, it's not a priority, we can't afford it, the technology won't support it, let's wait till COVID's over before we think about that, here's what you can do. Step 1, state the objection up front. So you say, Fluffy, I know this is not a priority for you at the moment. Be direct. Then what most people do is they say but or however. And these are not fantastic choices in functional communication. The research shows us that when you say but or however, it negates what you just said. It activates the limbic system, the emotional brain in your stakeholder, and it forces that stakeholder into a fight-flight response. Either they're going to get gnarly and argue with you, or they're going to just switch off their ears and ignore you, which is not what you want. Remember, don't say but, it'll land you in a rut. Instead, you need an inoffensive, unemotive joining word. And your choices are and, or so, or you can just pause and say nothing. Step 3 is to say actually or in fact. Copywriters use the words actually and in fact to make the thing sound like it's more believable. Contrast it works with it actually works. You can see that it sounds like it works a lot better. Step 4 is to solve it. And step 5 is to say the most powerfully persuasive word in the world. What is it? I'm glad you asked. It's the word because. Here's the research. People lined up at the photocopy machine in America. The researchers wanted to know how good is the word because when we're trying to persuade someone to our way of thinking. So they got people to push in the line with polite manners. They had to say, excuse me, I have 5 pages, please may I use the Xerox machine. So what percent do you think let them in with polite manners? Actually, it was 60%. They're pretty friendly in America. I think in Australia we'd probably say, go to the back, I'm waiting too. So that was the baseline test. What they really wanted to know is how good is the word because. So then they got people to push in the line and they had to say because with a good reason for pushing in. They had to say, excuse me, I have 5 pages. Please may I use the Xerox machine because I'm in a rush. So what do you think happened from the 60% with the because and the rush? It went up to 94, a 34% increase in how persuasive you are. But the researchers were confused. Did people just let them in because they said because, or because in fact the person was in a rush? So then they tested a ridiculous reason, a nonsense reason for pushing in the line. This time they had to say, excuse me, I have 5 pages. Please may I use the Xerox machine because I need to make some copies. And what do you think happened from the 94? 93. Yes, a 1% drop. The researchers determined that it stayed the same. And they also determined that people don't listen. They hear the word because and they automatically assume that it's a reliable, robust reason for doing the thing. Now, why is this? Well, it's actually in our DNA as humans to need explanations for things. We need to have a reason in order to make a decision or take action. Remember, people who don't know why won't buy. Because it's clever, because it forces you to give the why, to give the explanation. And the research tells us you'll be 34% more likely to persuade if you do this. So what are your gorgeous takeaways from today? Well, there are actually 4. Number 1, you cannot not influence. So let's be mindful of all of our impact on the people around us. Number 2, there are 5 steps for managing an objection. Let's use them with grace and mindfulness. Number 3, don't say but. It'll land you in a rut. Instead, you need an inoffensive, unemotive joining word like and, so, or pause. And number 4, do say because. It's the most powerfully persuasive word in the world. Remember, people who don't know why won't buy. So say the word because and give them the why. And then watch them buy your product, your service, or even your next big important idea. Happy persuading.
Please welcome your host for The Show Must Go On. It's Warwick Merry. That's me. Hello, ladies and gents, bald-headed babies and other associated people. Welcome to The Show Must Go On. I hope you've been enjoying the show so far. And I do love the very subtle hints that you might have got from Stephen Bradbury about if you're after any of the speakers you see today, please have a conversation with Encore Speakers. If you like some of the technology, have a chat to EventFrog and get that set up, and have a chat to the guys of the studio and all of our other partners. You're going to be coming up after the next break. You'll be able to have a chat to some of our partners and see what's going on. But today, it's my job to talk to you about why you actually need an event host. It's really interesting. I'm looking here to the right and I'm looking at some of the chat box action going on. And there's a couple of people who've actually messaged me directly saying that they really think that having an event host makes all the difference. You and I both know that the event host is often the last person booked because they'll do the budget and they'll say, how much money have we got? And, oh, we want this speaker and we want that speaker and we want them. Who's going to put it all together? I know. We'll get the CEO. But the CEO shouldn't be doing that. They should be schmoozing, and even more so digitally because you've got all the technology they've got to deal with. So it shouldn't be the CEO. It shouldn't be the funny person from accounts because, let's be honest, they're not that funny. And even if they are funny, the focus has to be not on them. See, that's the thing when you're a host, it's never about you. It's always about the delegates. It's always about how do we make it smooth. It's always about how do we make it more engaging. So one of the things that I want to do today is, because I know as I'm chatting to you, we've got the discussion forum going on. I want you to put your favorite word in there. And what I'm going to do is with your favorite word, I'm going to turn it into a once in a lifetime, never to be repeated poem, because that's the kind of thing that a professional host doesn't always do, but can do. Because here's the thing. You want a host that's going to be able to manage the energy. So when you have a very serious speaker, that you can lift the energy, get through some of the sometimes it's a tragic message, sometimes it's a hard message to hear, but a valuable one. So you need to lift that energy. You need to move to a place of joy. Sometimes you've had a full-on speaker that is so full-on that everyone's like, oh my goodness, I need a cigarette and a cup of coffee to get, to calm down after that one. So you've got to be able to, allow the energy to just reduce just a little bit. So you need someone who can read the room, read what's going on, and provide energy. Add into that this world of technology where, let's be honest, I'm the only one in this room. We've got a couple of hundred people who are watching, and there'll be other people on the recording. I've got to try and get across that energy. So you've got to be able to do it on camera, looking smack down the barrel of the camera. It's not an easy skill. It is one that does have to be rehearsed. So having a look at that, I've got some good words coming in, whiskey and spirited and delightful. Obviously, Chris is starting early if you're on the whiskey, mate, but that's a good sign. I'll come back to that. Passion. Nice one there, Russ. So the thing with you want your professional host to be able to understand the technology, be comfortable with the technology so that the technology doesn't become a barrier. I don't know if you've ever seen anyone who sort of goes, oh, the PowerPoint, what do I do? Talk to the person next to you. And even you see that online, and it's even worse when they'll launch the PowerPoint. It doesn't quite happen. So you need someone who's going to take control of the technology and be able to use it to the best ability that they have to be able to create some great results. Also, you want to make sure that the person is a little bit entertaining, because the enemy of any event, particularly online, but any event, is dead air. A pause is okay, but dead air is fatal. Most radio stations have a program that if you have more than 90 seconds of dead air, they'll automatically kick in some music. So we need to make sure that there's always something going on. There's always some piece of energy. I'm getting some good words coming through here. Conundrum. It looks like you're a big fan of 8 out of 10 Cats Does Countdown, for whoever put conundrum. So it's really important that you have some of these skill sets in the one person. Now, typically it is going to be one person who's a host. Sometimes you'll have a couple of hosts. If you've got a hybrid event and you've got someone on stage as well as have a group of people on screen, you often will need two, because sometimes there's things happening in person that you cannot emulate or you cannot allow people online to be engaged with. They could be doing something simple as interviewing some of the sponsors, interviewing some of the keynote speakers, interview different people. A question's come through from Megan: is it wise to use the same MC time after time? As an MC, I say yes, because I want you to use me time after time. But what I will say in all seriousness, sometimes your MC gets to know your industry and your company and your association, your organization so well that they become part of the team. What it means is you can play around with different speakers and have experimental speakers, but there's trust with the crowd knowing that MC, no matter what happens, they'll pick up the pieces and run with it. I have also seen, and some of my clients do this, they'll say, we love you, we've had you for 7 or 8 years, but now it's time for a different spin of energy, or we have to, let's face it, I'm an old white guy and I'm really not a poster child for diversity. So sometimes it is we need to represent diversity, and that happens. So you can mix it up, but don't be scared to have the same MC, because you don't have to train them again. It's like if you change conference organizer every year, you've got to train them every single time. So it really is important to look at what's going to be in the best interests of the delegate and of the overall experience. All right, now I've promised the word poem. Let me go back to the word poem here. The lovely Peter Merritt's on board with delicious, superb. All right, here we go. So I was just sitting here rubbing my hand through my hair as I thought all about the joys of events air. It was a bit of a challenge. It was a little bit frisky, but that's okay because we've got lots of whiskey. There's plenty of wisdom and passion there too, and maybe a holiday for me and for you. We make it dynamic. There's simply no conundrums. When things get all locked up, we don't want them. We want it to be positive, full of positivity. We want it to be joyous for you and for me. We want to have a spirited experience with life and delight. We can get one each day, each event. That's quite right. When you want to have a speaker that's full of joy and makes you want more, of course you're going to be calling the team at Encore. When it comes to a host that gives you the best, why look for others? Why look for the rest? You come to me. I know what to do. It's going to be great for me and for you. Ta-da, the poem. There you go. Enjoy. Look, that's just some of the fun stuff that can happen. It is about being creative. It is about making sure that your team have a fun and exciting time. And today, I know that we've got a whole lot more fun and exciting time there. I don't want to take up too much of your time. Our next session is where we're going to roll into back to the main timeline. We're going to have a chat to some of the industry partners. You'll get a chance to go and have a conversation with them. If you want to have a further discussion, you've liked some of the stuff that you've seen so far, you want to find out more about some of the studios, some of the things that are going on. Someone's just put the word pivot there. That is illegal. In our household, my wife jokes about pivot all the time, being pivot and agile, you know. So what's going to be happening is we are going to be going back and having a look at some of the other people. We've got so many great speakers. And also, don't forget that competition. I think Russell Pearson was number one. Let's not let him stay there. Check out some of the other ways that you can get points. It's all part of the gamification. Make sure you're sending messages in the networking area, in the network hub. Go and check that out. So right now, I know we're a little bit early, but I think it's worthwhile to go back and have a look at some of our event partners and also have a conversation with some of the other people here. We've got a great day planned. If you need to, stand up, have a bit of a stretch, but, you know, really enjoy the rest of the day and everything that's on offer. Hey, thank you so much for being part of this event. I'm going to wrap it up now. You've been fantastic. I've been Warwick. Thanks very much.